Just the possibility of recall elections has the campaign cash flowing.
It certainly seems to be that way. Normally, there are strict limits on political fundraising, but in a recall election, the sky is the limit. Fox 11's Robert Hornacek is on special assignment tonight and has more on the big money recall.
I spent hours and hours digging through financial reports submitted by the state senators being targeted by recalls, and I found huge donations to candidates on both sides of the aisle. One person donated $20,000 to a senator. That's 20 times the normal campaign limits. But because it's a recall, it's all perfectly legal. Politicians on both sides are facing a furious electorate. Some are mad at Republicans for pushing through sweeping changes in collective bargaining. Others are angry with Democrats for fleeing the state to try to stop the measure. Now 9 state senators are the target of recalls. With all of the focus on campaign finance reform in the last few years, you'd think there were strict limits on political contributions. You'd be right, most of the time. But this is no ordinary time. It's the big money recall, and it's triggered a little-known law put on the books in 1987, a law some call one of the largest loopholes in the state's campaign finance system.
They're going out there and raising hundreds of thousands of dollars from a handful of donors because they don't have to adhere to the limit that usually applies.
Once a recall effort begins, the financial floodgates open wide for both the group organizing the recall and the politician being targeted. Normally in a state Senate race, candidates can only receive $1,000 from each person or political action committee. Candidates can only get about $22,000 total from special interest groups and political parties. But from the time a recall effort begins, all the way until an election date is set by the Government Accountability Board, those limits go out the window. That means right now, big cash is coming in. The money can only be used for legal fees and other expenses associated with the recall. What are those other expenses?
I'm State Senator Dave Hansen.
You guessed it, political ads. Both sides are taking full advantage of the system. Take Republican State Senator Randy Hopper from Fond du Lac. He received $20,000 from Jerry Fabick, the CEO of Fabco Equipment. Ralph Stair, the CEO of Johnsonville Sausage, gave Hopper $15,000. Even though the normal limit is $1,000, these giant donations are perfectly legal. Republican State Senator Luther Olson of Ripon got some help from his colleague, State Senator Mike Ellis of Neenah. Ellis's campaign committee gave Olson $16,000. Ellis also gave $16,000 to State Senator Rob Coles of Green Bay. Coles has not had to report his contributions yet, but he told me he also received a $10,000 donation. From who? Well, he declined to say because his reports are not due yet. On the Democratic side, it's not big money from individuals or other senators. It's big money from the state party and labor unions. State Senator Dave Hansen of Green Bay received $5,000 from the Bay Lakes United Educators, a teachers union in Green Bay that represents 7,000 teachers. Another $4,000 came from the United Transportation Union, based in Ohio. That same Ohio union gave $4,000 to State Senator Jim Holprin of Conover. Special interest groups like unions can usually give Senate candidates just $1,000. But remember, in a recall, there are no restrictions. Holprin's biggest chunk of cash came from his own party. The State Senate Democratic Committee gave Holprin $18,600. The Democratic Party of Wisconsin gave him a whopping $60,000. Another $50,000 in Democratic Party money went to Hansen. Mike McCabe from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign says the big money highlights the big problem with the current system.
There are going to be ungodly sums of money poured into these recall elections, and I don't know how that does anything but leave us with a Senate that is even more beholden, up past its eyeballs in special interest money.
While Republicans and Democrats are often at odds, this is one issue where they agree.
Shouldn't a person that's being attacked be able to defend themselves? I'm going to defend myself.
You got to be part of the system that's in place, and we can talk about trying to make it better into the future. But as it stands right now, the system is what it is.
Should taxpayers be worried about the influence of money in politics when they see something like this where politicians can get unlimited amounts of money?
You know, that's
there's that money that goes there, but then there's also money that goes to, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Democratic committee in the Senate and the Assembly. Money goes there. So money flows freely all the time. And so it does play a part in politics. I have seen it. I understand that. Folks who contribute have an easier way to get to the leadership.
It's not just the politicians in this story taking huge contributions. All of the senators being targeted by the recalls are doing it. In fact, State Senator Alberta Darling leads the pack. She's raised more than $400,000, including $11,000 from one donor, $20,000 from another, and $22,500 from a third donor. Darling is the co-chair of the powerful Joint Finance Committee. Now, all of the contributions above the usual limits must be spent before the recall election is ordered. That will likely be in early June. Any unused money must either be donated to charity or returned to the original donor. So where's all this money spent? Well, some of it goes to pay lawyers and consultants, and some goes to local newspapers, radio stations, and television stations like Fox 11 in the form of political ads. For more information on the war chests of the state senators, visit our website, fox11online.com. There, you'll find a detailed list of the big money contributors and links to the financial reports for all of the senators who are the target of a recall.